The first book I want to talk to y'all about is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kilmer. This book is such a special book. It is called Braiding Sweetgrass because in Native American cultures, when you are, or I guess if any of us are braiding something, if I wanted to braid sweetgrass, you would hold a little bit one end and I would hold the other. And as we braid, there's it's almost like a conversation going on, a tug, a back and forth. And that is really what Robin Wall Kilmer seeks to do and completely accomplishes in this, is a conversation about our plant ecology and who we are and how she reconciles this very scientific understanding, as she's a biologist and a professor, with the teaching of Sky Woman and the Native American teaching. And it is the most beautiful book. It makes one slow down, think. It's a treasure. The second book I want to talk to you about is a field guide to mushrooms of the Carolinas. This came out recently from UNC Press, and it's just, we all have that bird guide at our house, and there's much, like, I don't know about y'all's lawns after the rain, but mine, like, mushrooms just appear, and I don't know what they are, and I'm always kind of curious. So this has come out. It's really specific to the Carolinas. I think it's great, and I think it'll be a great gift. Another great nonfiction book gift is this book called Pappyland. The gentleman, Wright Thompson, who wrote it, first of all, lives in Oxford, Mississippi, a town that I'm obsessed with. But he spent some time with Julian Van Winkle, Pappy Van Winkle's grandson, as he continued making Pappy Van Winkle bourbon. And if you're not familiar with this bourbon, it is very much a cult bourbon. The story of it is that he got access to some barrels that his grandfather had made, the best whiskey ever, and everybody went crazy for it. Everybody still goes crazy for it. You can get a bottle for maybe like $3,000, and then it just goes up from there. Fantastic book, fantastic gift. Think of it, if you got somebody the quail hunting book that I mentioned last year, maybe this year they get Pappyland. Also new out this year, David Sedaris. This is The Best of Me, and it is the best of David Sedaris. His funniest, most memorable stories, all in one volume. It's a beautiful volume, French. It's beautiful, French flaps and absolutely everything. And if you love David Sedaris, you can't go wrong with David Sedaris. This book is, I only have one cookbook this year. I do sometimes go a little crazy. It's called La Buvette, and I love this book because it feels like a trip to Paris. It's written by a woman. So in Paris they have these little wine shops, but if you want to have a little wine shop, you also have to serve food. And her little wine shop has become famous because of the food that she serves. It's simple, it's delicious, and she has those recipes, but along the way, she's also talking about her obsession with organic wine. She features the woman who sells like super cool jewelry at the Paris flea market. It's a trip. It is a trip to Paris. It is a pleasure to read, and it's different than anything I've encountered, and I hope you take a look. The next book I want to talk about is India Hicks. This is it's called an entertaining story, and it is an entertaining book. India Hicks's history is so interesting, with her father, David Hicks, who is just a pioneer in design and being cool, basically. But she has these beautiful parties. She has an incredible eye herself, and it's inventive, and I love her little vignettes. There's one essay in here where she talks about she lives on a Bahamian island, and it's hard to, if your refrigerator breaks, it takes months to replace it, and it's an entertaining story, and I strongly suggest you get this for somebody for a Christmas present. Read it yourself, then give it. It's great. The other book that I larger book I want to show you just came out. I'm also obsessed with Bunny Mellon. If you don't know about her legacy is her gardens, and this book really dives deep into her gardens. It has pictures from throughout the decades. It also goes into where she studied, what she learned, tips. It is just something special. More pictures than anything else, but also there's, what you should do with your garden, and I strongly recommend. I think this is a great book. I'm so glad it's come out. I've been waiting for it. In a similar vein, these two books are two books that came out this year. There's Jenna Hager, Everything Beautiful in Its Time, which is a wonderful book. It's her memoir, mostly focusing on her two grandmothers. I think it's a great book to read, mother-daughter kind of together, pass it back and forth. It's a fantastic book. As a mother of young children, my favorite is Jenna's memory, talking about a tough night when her kids are up all night, but everybody else has their favorite. It's something special. But the other book that I want to draw your attention to, in case you missed it, this is called Pearls of Wisdom, and it's not by Barbara Bush, but after her funeral, they collected snippets of her advice from people, and it is fantastic. Everything that is in her words are bold, and this is just, it's a special book. I have recommended it to so many people, and words matter, kindness matters, looks fade. That's important to know. Treat everyone equally. Don't look down on anyone. Use your voices for good. Read all the good books. And this is a special book. I want to make sure you know about it. My last three books, I have two murder mysteries. This one, it's called 8 Perfect Murders. It is about a guy who owns a mystery bookshop, and he has a mystery blog, and he writes one of his blog posts from like years ago is the 8 most perfect murders in murder mystery books. Well, one day the police come into his bookshop and it's like, someone is committing these murders from your blog, and it goes on from there. This book, it's a modern book, but it takes place in the 1920s. Murder at the Mensa House. It takes place in Egypt. A young American woman traveling with her wealthy aunt, and a murder takes place at this very fancy hotel that they're in, and all the characters are there, and it is just kind of a classic, recently written classic mystery. The last one I'm going to pitch to you is a stretch, and for the Neighbors crowd, but I think it's absolutely incredible. This book, it's a YA fantasy novel, but don't let that stop you. It takes place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, on the UNC campus, which, as you know, is one of the oldest institutions of higher education in the country, and has a lot of secret societies. So this book takes some of those secret societies and traces them back for thousands of years, because they're magical. And what happens, the whole purpose of the secret societies are to protect the human race. And I take a chance on this book, read it, pass it along. I'm not doing a very good job selling it, but I just love this book. I think everyone needs to read it. It's North Carolina. It's fun. It's Merlin. It's King Arthur. It's everything you need to escape the pandemic.